murderer who turned victim into human baked potato have real appetite for crime.
Announcing the triumphant return of the world's greatest detective in an all-new comedy mystery, Charlie Chan and the Curse of the Dragon Queen.
In my opinion, Watson, this is one case that will baffle even the great Charlie Chan.
Charlie Chan and the Curse of the Dragon Queen, rated PG.
Charlie Chan and the Curse of the Dragon Queen was the best of times. The people involved were wonderful. The cast was, you couldn't ask for a better cast.
It was a wonderful cast. It was Peter Ustinov.
Kind words most appreciated.
It was Lee Grant. Lee Grant was hysterical. She kept her dead husband in an urn and talked to him constantly.
Charlie Chan is coming to San Francisco to work with the police on some case. And the thing I feared most has happened.
Rachel Roberts. Rachel was great. She played the maid. And she was a brilliant actress.
Don't drink that. Let me taste it first.
It was Roddy McDowall. Roddy played the butler in a wheelchair.
I am not a clone, Mrs. Dangers. I am a butler.
It was Richard Hatch. Richard played Peter Ustinov's #1 bumbling son. And a young actress who just blew everybody off the screen by the name of Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, Lee, you're so romantic.
The original concept was to shoot all the locations in San Francisco that were necessary except for Chinatown, and we shot that on the back lot of Paramount and created our own Chinatown. We did have some huge units. We had horse chases and stunts and patrol cars leaping off the cliff and into the ocean. It was a big production. There's a lot of vehicles around at all times. Sometimes we had more vehicles than people.
The Charlie Chan character is always fun. It's great fun to get into one of those whodunits as a musician, you know. So I was really intrigued by it. I was looking forward to doing it. I remember the movie as being a lot of different vignettes in a way, and they related, but it was really more of scoring vignette to vignette, and there were so many wild things in it. I mean, things were just absolutely insane in that movie. So the music was probably as much fun as I've ever had actually composing a score for a film, because you just went with it, and it was so out and so funny that you know, just let your mind wander, and you couldn't let it wander far enough, actually. It was a little bit of everything in that movie, as I recall, just about everything. But there was a very interesting and really unique thing. I've never done it before or since, and that was I wrote a little operetta for Peter Ustinov.
Oh. An observation. An observation, King Perception.
The amazing thing about that little operetta was that Ustinov not only did it in different accents, he did it in character. So he did it, Charlie Chan actually singing in Italian or whatever. I mean, he took it to the other level, you know? And I'd cue the orchestra, and I had no idea what he was going to actually sing, but I allowed holds for him, and there was a couple of melodic lines if he wanted to sing them. But I had no idea what words he was going to use. He was hysterically funny, and such a linguist that he could pull off anything.
It's amazing, I don't get more time.
He was singing in a booth live with the orchestra, and it was the orchestra could hardly stand it. I mean, people were collapsing, and so they couldn't even come in and play the violin because they were laughing so hard, you know? It was really a truly one-of-a-kind moment. He was not only funny to work with. I mean, when we go out to dinner, I mean, I thought I was going to laugh till I got sick. This guy was so funny and so bright. So I remember that specifically, the great pleasure I had working with Peter Ustinov on that movie.
Working on Charlie Chan and the Curse of the Dragon Queen was a very interesting experience. I had a good time because I was doing the promotions and publicity on the film. And so I got to go on the set, and I met Peter Ustinov, Michelle Pfeiffer. We really enjoyed working on it. We actually had legitimate stars. I got to take Peter Ustinov on tour. And if you want to have the most incredible experience of your life, is to take Peter Ustinov to New York and have him get lost on you. I learned that I had to set up his interviews and tell him that it was an hour earlier, because he would go off and look for rare books and rare tapes. And Peter had this huge cape. It was winter, and he had the big black cape. And he was just the most fascinating and the nicest man you would ever want to meet, very elegant. And he always treated me wonderfully. I mean, of all the celebrities I worked with, he was just a magnificent gentleman, actor, and just amazing to go with. We went to do an interview with one of the TV stations, I don't remember which one, but we pulled into the alley. We were in a limo, and we got out of the limo, and there were some bums along the side of the street. And so we got out of the car, and Peter helped me out, and we're starting to walk, and a couple of the bums came up, and one of them said, "Well, you're Peter Ustinov." Peter said, "Why, that I am." And he spread out his cape, and he did a little routine for 4 or 5 of the little bums right on the side of the road. And they all applauded, and he looked at me and he goes, "Always entertain." And he took his cape and he swept right in, you know, to the interview we were going to be doing. And I just thought that was marvelous.
Oh.
So my experience with Charlie Chan and the Curse of the Dragon Queen was wonderful.
How I got this role is probably a monumental question to ask. I got a chance to read the script, which was sent to me by my agent, and I was blown away because I had not had a chance to do a lot of comedy. And I just really took to Lee Chan Jr. I just thought he was an incredibly bumbling, you know, endearing character. I didn't quite know if I would be cast due to the fact that he's half Chinese and half Jewish, neither of which I am. So it was certainly a big leap of faith for me to go in and audition for it. But I thought, you know, what a fun audition. If I don't get it, most likely I won't. What do I have to lose? So they had set up this little room, and basically they were setting up the scene. And I'm in this office, and I am talking to Charlie Chan, my grandfather, and I basically decide, and I start thinking in my mind, how can I make this scene work? And I come up with this sandwich that I'm eating during this scene. And as I squeeze down and bite on the sandwich, everything squeezes out the bottom of the sandwich, and of course smacks out all over the ground. And then as I get up to go say, "Oh, what have I done?" Of course I step up, hit a pickle, slips me up, and I go flying back, and then I hit the table behind me and the vase over here, and I do a whole series of stumbling around and destroying the entire set. Now, you know, it's one thing to choreograph it, it's another thing to actually execute it, but it was one of those magical takes. I don't know what to say. Just that beginning, that basic setup for me with the sandwich really orchestrated the whole thing, because once I started the scene, took a bite of the sandwich, and he's very kind of wide-eyed and innocent and, you know, very kind of open, and basically get up and go, oh, I'm sorry, grandfather, and I get up and I hit the pickle, slip up like this, and before I knew it, trying to regain my balance, which I honestly was trying to do. It wasn't even about trying to bumble anymore. It was trying to save my life from breaking any bones, and basically I proceeded to break the entire set. I destroyed the walls, the vase, the food, the counter, everything that was in that set, and he got it all in film. And that was the take. And apparently the director's wife saw the test, and they were going to cast Timothy Dalton, who was the other actor basically that was going up against me, and he had a much bigger name than me. And his wife said, "You would be a fool not to use Richard." So I got to play Charlie Chan Jr.
You think it's possible, Grandpop, for me to be as great a detective as you?
And I also got to be in on the casting sessions with Michelle Pfeiffer. And it's kind of extraordinary to think back, you know, now that one realizes Michelle Pfeiffer is quite a big star, Academy Award winner. And I'm sitting there auditioning with all these girls, and in comes Michelle Pfeiffer. And the one thing that hit me right off was every actor will tell you that acting is about rhythms and rapport. And when you are in a scene, sometimes you're with another actor and there is just this wonderful, magical rapport. It's effortless. There's just this moment-to-moment interplay between you and the character. And I had read with several very, very good actors, but she just had this really, I don't know what it was. Me and her hit it off. We just had this chemistry, and afterwards the director asked me, you know, who I thought was the best, and I said, Michelle Pfeiffer. And not only, of course, was she a wonderful actress, but she probably is one of the most extraordinarily beautiful women in all of history. And I remember, you know, on the set that she and I, the chemistry really worked because we were so, I don't know how to put this, because normally you would be sitting there all day lusting after this beautiful woman. But she and I had this almost childlike brother and sister connection where we would, between every take, be running over to play Gin Rummy. And Gin Rummy was something that was one of those kind of fun, simple, easy games to play, but it brought out our desire to win. And she was very competitive. And we would be running back to finish the game and get into the next game and try to get one up on the other person. And the whole shoot was like that. She was very accessible, very easy to work with. We could talk about how we were going to choreograph the scene. And in this particular movie, we were very fortunate because the director gave us a lot of latitude. I got a chance to choreograph a lot of my little stunts.
Oh, darling, did that hurt? Sweetheart, I got you.
And so she and I would work out these different little fun things to do, like the scene in which we're running up these stairs at the back of the building. And I'm running up and she's got this big gown on. And all of a sudden I'm trying to hold the gown up because, you know, it's getting all over the place. I'm getting lost in the gown, and pretty soon I'm underneath the gown, and then I'm lost underneath the gown in her shorts, and I can't find my way out. And it was one of those things that because we had such a chemistry, that we just kept playing with, and every take, it got worse and worse. You know, I got lost more and more, and again, I think the best things happen organically. I remember the scene that we shot at the table where Lee Chan is eating, and Roddy McDowall comes in the wheelchair and is serving, which is another quite funny scene. And again, this was an opportunity for me because, you know, Lee's playing my mother, very serious.
It upsets me so much when you say that.
And here's this bumbling son that she, Peter Ustinov, everybody has to deal with. And basically I got another chance to orchestrate some fun things, which was the part where he's trying to get this bagel open and it's stale. And he's jabbing it and he's stabbing it, and then he puts it up here and he's trying to cut it and he saws off his tie. And the fun thing for me was actually having a chance to help orchestrate and be involved in the process of developing these little fun things to do. I also got to do in the scene in my office where I remember I'm opening the office door with my key. The key's on a chain, and I actually orchestrated this, again trying to figure out a way to create a series of bumbling incidences. And I open the door with the key, and I forget to, of course, take the key out, open it, and all of a sudden there's a phone ringing, so I'm in a hurry, and I run to get the phone, and of course my key's attached to the door. It pulls the door off the handles, and then I got this door behind me, and I can't get to the phone. And then I got to undo my pants and pull my pants off, and it's one series of struggles and situations after the other that finally allow me to get to the phone and say, "Hello?" And of course, by that time, they hang up. I was fortunate. I was a gymnast. I flew trapeze, walked high wire, I juggled. I was an athlete all my life, so I think that they took advantage of that. And obviously, we did use doubles as well, but they would use me as much as they could use me, and then they would cut away when they had to, or cut back to me when they could. But I did as many of the stunts as possible. I mean, even in the front of the elevator, they had me when all that water came running out. I did put a stuntman and do that as well, but as I remember, I did do part of that. They may not have had quite as much water when they did it with me, and then had me fall down, slip down, and then go being washed down into the room. They used me, and then again they used the stunt double. They probably used him for the big shot of all that water rushing out when it's the, you know, that obviously would have been more of a risk. But again, I have to keep saying over and over again, I mean, it's to be doing something like that where you are doing, you know, I don't want to call it high comedy. In a sense, it was high comedy, but it was just the opportunity to be not trying to be funny, but actually funny because you were such a dimwit. Again, is not the name. Just spaced.
The only case I've had in weeks was trying to find a lost cat. I'm sorry.
And finally, the ultimate actor dream, I get to destroy an entire street, entire set. And basically, it was all shot in one take. Now, most, you know, shots like that would have been shot in a series of smaller takes. But they basically choreographed the whole thing, so it's all one walk. The camera panning back, starting with me walking around the corner, getting off this bus, trolley, walking over to this little Chinese place, and basically seeing the canopy, which is rolled up, and the guy's trying to unroll it and having problems. I want to go over and help him. I unroll it, and of course there's all this water. It's stuck inside the canopy, and there are all these people trying to buy fruit, and the canopy comes down, the water comes slashing down on all of them like this, and of course, each step of the way, I'm moving on before I see all the catastrophic events that take place as a result of what I did. So basically, I take that down, fix that, it's ruining everybody's life there, and I'm moseying down the street, the camera's panning down with me, watching me step by step destroy everything behind me, totally unaware of the fact of what I'm doing. By the time I get into the end of the street and I walk into this little office where I'm going, there's a mahjong or some kind of a Chinese game that's played, and I obviously come over there and I'm watching the game, I want to participate, put my hand down on the table, and of course throw the whole table and everything goes flying, mess that up, finally get to my office. But it was one of those all-in-one takes where you had to choreograph it, rehearse it, and get it right the first time, because if you didn't do it right, you're going to have to reset the whole set, which was an entire street. And you had multiple stuntmen, multiple things happening as a result, so the timing had to be flawless. And as I remember, I think we did it on the first take. I think we did it on one take.
Hurry!
I can't hurry. This is a weird knot. It's hard to untie.
Once an actor tunes in to a character, before that, they'll give lots of comments and feedback and constantly trying to steer you. But once you connect, and I think for some reason, and again, maybe it's because of the reason I got the role, very much in my life, I tend to be thinking 20 things at once, and sometimes I'm not aware of what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm always bumbling something, you know. I'm trying to do my pants, but then I'm doing the wrong hook, and I'm getting my finger caught in the zipper, and, you know, because my mind's thinking 3 steps ahead, and very much that was the character, and it wasn't all that hard for me to play. So I just basically showed up and let that part that I basically try to hide from everybody until it's too late, and let it out. So it was, it was therapy for me.
Detective disguises mean that you, as detective, must disguise self. Does not mean that you must disguise self as detective.
Working with Peter Ustinov again was another extraordinary event. I had watched him in so many movies before, and again, to be an actor who was also a fan, to all of a sudden be starring in a movie with somebody that you've admired, I mean, is, number one, extraordinarily difficult to deal with on its own right. But I think that Peter was one of those rare comedians. From the moment he steps out of his motorhome, and usually you don't see Peter until it's time for his shot. He goes from the motorhome to the set, and while he's walking from the motorhome to the set, he is funny. Every statement out of his mouth, everything is hysterical, everything is humorous, gets on the set, and immediately is right there.
Killer, most clever, most cunning, with a devious mind.
So he's always on when he's in public. And it kind of got the rhythm, the energy, the levity on the set that kind of, I think, made it really, really easy. And he was very patient. Whatever number of takes it took to get it right, he was perfectly, you know, willing to do whatever was needed. I don't ever remember him really, He was not one of those difficult actors. He was friendly, he was warm, but in a sense, warm but distant. But he was very, what's the word, precise. Very precise. And I think when an actor is very precise and very focused and very there, it makes it easier for you to work on.
It's almost 3:30. I don't see anything suspicious.
Absence of suspicion often denote presence of danger.
Sorry it took me so long to catch up with you. Goodbye, Charlie Chan.
Angie was very open, very warm, very laid back. She was very comfortable. It was very easy to work with. She's just fun. She's one of those people that's just very accessible. No airs, no goddess type of thing. Treat me like a star.
In my opinion, this is one case that will baffle even the great Charlie Chan.
So I thought the movie was extremely well cast.
It was wonderful working with them all.
It was probably as much fun as I've ever had.
It was magical. I was very, very fortunate. It was a great shoot.